Hello everyone, it's Rebecca from Chloe's Creative Cards, and today I'm going to show you how to make this really cute little gingerbread Christmas card. So to get started, I have taken a piece of Aquamarine pearl card and I've just folded that in half to create an A5 card blank. I've then taken a piece of silver mirror card and just trimmed that slightly smaller than the card base. And we're going to stick that on using some Collal All-Purpose. So I'm just going to apply that to the back, like so, and then stick that onto my card base. There we go. Okay, I've then taken a piece of foil paper from the Wonderland paper pad, and we're going to stick that on using some foam pads. Just grab those. So just going to apply those to the back, like so. And peel those off. Those back into the bin. Okay, and then we're going to stick this onto here, like so. Okay, I've then taken a smaller piece of silver mirror card so that we don't cover up too much of that paper, and we're going to stick that on again using some foam pads. Peel backs off of those, like so, and stick that into the centre again. There we go. And then I've taken a piece of crystal white pearl card, and we're going to use the 5x7 Winter Wonderland border embossing folder. So I'm going to pop that into the centre, just line that up where I want it to go, and then close that up. I'm going to use my Gemini plate, so I'm going to use my base plate. I'm going to pop my folder on. I'm going to use my metal shim and my plastic shim on top, and then run that through the Gemini machine. And just wait for that to come out the other side. And then we've got that lovely embossed piece. So just move those out of the way. Okay, we're then going to stick this again into the middle. So again, I'm going to use some foam pads, like so. Just sticking those all the way along. Stick that into the centre, like so. Okay, we're then going to stamp our sentiments. So I've taken the wishing you a wonderful Christmas and a happy new year. And I'm just going to grab in some scrap paper. So I'll just pop that onto there, and I'm just going to dust it over with an anti-static bag. And we'll ink our stamp up using a Wow clear embossing ink pad. So I'm just going to stamp that into the centre. And then we're going to emboss that using some Mercury glass Wow powder. So we'll just sprinkle that over and tap off the excess. Pop the rest back into the pot. And then we're going to heat that up using our heat tool. So just waiting for that powder to melt and change, and then moving the heat tool over the image. And then I'm just going to bring in my guillotine. I'm just going to trim this image down, the sentiment down, sorry. So I'm just doing this by eye. I'm not cutting it to a particular size or anything, just where I think it needs trimming. I'm just going to trim a little bit more here. Okay, I'm going to bring in my scrap paper again. We're going to edge this with some Crystallina. So I'm going to use my chisel tip glue pen and just drag that towards me, like so. And then we'll just pack that in the Crystallina Sparkelicious. And then we're going to stick that onto our card. So again, I'm just going to use some foam pads. Just pop those on and grab a few more. Pop those on. Okay. And again, peel off the backs. And then we're going to stick that onto our card, like so. Okay, we're then going to start and create the gingerbread girl. So, I have taken the gingerbread girl stamp, and I've got the die ready for later, and I've got some white cards, so I'm just going to give that a dust over, and then we're going to ink that up using some versafine Claire Nocturne ink pad, or the Onyx Black versafine. Same sort of thing. Any black pigment ink pad really. And then we're going to stamp that down and peel that off. And I'm just going to bring in that scrap paper again, and we're going to cover that with clear gloss wow powder. And that just gives us a nice little edge, little ridge to kind of colour up to. And it just adds to the overall finish, I think. We'll heat that up now. You can see how that black then really pops now that it's been heated. Okay. Then I'm going to bring in my Copic markers. So to colour the gingerbread, kind of gingerbread colour, we're going to use E35 first. So I'm just going to apply a little bit of this to her hands and to her legs and to her feet, like so. Then I'm going to take E33 and just kind of go over a little bit over that darker colour and then drag it down, like so, on all the areas that we've just coloured. And then I'm going to use E31 to blend it all together. And then I'm going to go and do her face. So again, I'm going to use E35. So just kind of where the more shaded areas would be is where I'm going to put the darker colour. I'm going to bring it down her face a little bit towards her neck. Then we're going to go back in with E33 and just sort of blend that out. And then lastly in with E31 and just blend that all together. I'm going to go back in with E35 and I'm just going to colour in all of these kind of edging bits. I'm going to use that colour to go all the way around. Like so. There we go. And then to colour her dress and her bow, I'm going to use these two colours. I'm just going to test out which one's the darkest. I can't remember. Yeah. So we're going to use this one first. So BG15 Aqua. So I'm just going to start off with the arms on her dress first. So I'm going to colour kind of a bigger proportion in this darker colour because we were only using 2 pens to blend this time. And then I'm going to go in with the BG23, which is Coral Sea. And then I'm just going to blend that together. So just going over that previous colour and blending that out. Again, I'm going to go back in with the BG15 and do her dress. So I'm just going to blend that down. And then we'll blend that all out with BG23. Just to blend those two colours together. Not too worried about going over the buttons because we're going to cover those in a second anyway. Again, going in with BG15 just to do the hem part of her dress. And her bow. And then blend it out with the other colour. There we go. You can see how she's all come together now, all nice and coloured in. So I'm going to take the matching die and we're going to position that over the top. And I'm going to tape that into place using some low-tack tape. And then I'm just going to run that through my machine to cut that out. So I'll just pop that in. And then there we have our little gingerbread girl all nicely cut out. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to glitter her up. So I'm going to glitter her dress and her bow. So I'm just going to use some Art Glitter Dries Clear Glue. And we're just going to infill those areas. Like so, just working around each section. And it really does help having the fine tip applicator on the bottle, so then you can get into all of those smaller areas and be quite precise. Now I'll just do the bottom part. There we go, and then I'm going to bring in Crystallina Sparkelicious again. And I'm just going to dunk her into there, like so. tap off the excess. Now you can see, you can't really see her dress kind of colour underneath, but once that dries, because it dries clear, it will then dry and look like this. Okay, so what we're then going to do is I'm going to take some fluffy stuff. So I'm just going to use a little bit of fluffy stuff, and we're just going to apply that to kind of the piping on her arms and legs and to her dress. When this puffs up, it just looks a little bit like it's icing, that she's been iced. So I just think it gives a lovely effect. So we're just gonna now heat that up. Just see how that starts to puff up. There we go. I just think it gives a lovely effect to her. So I'm just going to add a dot of glue into each of the buttons and one into her bow, in the centre of her bow. And I'm going to take the Winter Wonderland Bling box, and we're just going to add some of these crystals on. So just like so. We'll just pop those onto her buttons. Like so. Okay, and then she is ready to go onto our cards. So I'm just going to again bring in some foam pads. I'm just going to trim these in half, and we're going to stick these to the back. So I'm just going to layer two, in fact I might layer up 3 foam pads. So I'm just going to pop those on. These are the 2mm foam pads, so just to give her that extra bit of height. And then we're going to stick her onto there. Okay, I'm then going to go around and just kind of add a dot of glue to each of the centre of the snowflakes in the background. And then we're just going to get some more of those little crystals. I'm going to go for 6mm and the 5mm. And add the 6mm to the bigger snowflakes. Like so. And then I'm going to go in with some of the 5mm ones as well. It's not one to do where I want it. There we go. Okay, I then tied a triple bow just from some white organza ribbon, and we're going to stick that at the top. So I'll just grab my pin flare. I'll just add a blob to the back, add that into the corner, and then I'm going to take one of the 10mm sparklers, and we're going to add that into the centre. And then I've just seen, I think I've got the 12mm sparklers. Any of the sparklers will be fine. And then I've just missed one I can see. I'm just going to stick that into there. And that would then be your finished card. So nice and quick. Again, if you were posting these, you could make them completely flat, maybe not put as many foam pads on, or put no foam pads at all, and then they'll be perfect for posting. I just think that's a really cute, quick Christmas card. I really hope you've enjoyed watching today. As always, all of the products will be listed in the description below. Thanks for watching. Bye.